What's up, guys? Jacob Ober here, coming with my instant reactions from Green Bay's 31-0 loss to the Detroit Lions at home to finish out the 2018 regular season. Oh boy. I mean, what is there to say at this point? The Packers had a terrible year. They finished it out with a terrible game. Granted, they really didn't have a whole lot of their best players playing. I mean, obviously, Mike Daniels, Kenny Clark, Muhammad Wilkerson, Davante Adams, David Bakhtiari, Aaron Rodgers, the list goes on, Jaire Alexander. Like, there's a lot of guys that this season that were major contributors this year that just never really played in this game at all. Rodgers got injured or suffered a concussion, as they told us. I'm not really sure how true that was, but I don't really care because, like, you know what, they were going to probably get him out of the game regardless. I mean, this game was pretty much over from the first series or two when the Lions went up 14-0, and at that point they probably thought, you know what, it's probably time to pull Rodgers. There's no point in continuing this. It's cold out. You're playing on your home turf. You don't want to risk injury for Rodgers. I mean, there was just no reason at that point to keep him in. I did really want to see Davante Adams play today. I wanted to see him break some franchise records. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see that, but it was still a fantastic year for him. He's a really, really great up-and-coming receiver, probably a top 5 receiver in the league right now, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him get even better next year. As for the game itself, oh my goodness, I don't even know what to talk about because there was nothing good to talk about. Literally at all. I mean, like, I can't think of anything. There was just so much bad. I mean, I probably couldn't cover it in this entire video. So, I don't even know if I'm going to talk about much about the game. Why don't we just talk about the future here? This year was obviously, I mean, it was a poor year for the Packers. I mean, it was a year that, obviously, I think could have gone a lot differently if just the Packers got a few lucky bounces go their way, you know, but, all in all, they didn't play good football for a majority of the season, and that was the reason why they finished with such a poor record. On the bright side, the loss today ensures that they get at least a number 12 pick or higher in the draft, so they're going to pick pretty high, higher than they have in a long time this year. But, I mean, I don't want to say there was a lack of talent on this team because I think that, like I said, I'm still holding this to myself. I think that the Packers had the most talented team this year that they've had since 2014. They had a lot of really talented guys. They just weren't able to make it all work this year. And maybe that's not as big of an issue as a lot of people think it is. I mean, the Packers fired Ted Thompson last offseason. They brought in a new defensive coordinator. They fired Dom Capers. They tried to add new faces like Jimmy Graham, Mercedes Lewis, Muhammad Wilkerson, Tramon Williams. Then they went out and drafted Jaire Alexander, Josh Jackson. I mean, it was kind of it was an off season last year where it was like, okay, we'll build up a little bit, we'll give Rodgers a little more talent and see if it meshes and see if it results in something. This year obviously showed that it didn't, and Aaron Rodgers wasn't Aaron Rodgers from the past. I mean, he was still really, really good this year, but he wasn't the kind of Aaron Rodgers to carry a 4-6 team to 10-6 and to the NFC Championship game like he did just a couple years ago. And to me, the biggest problem with this year with this Green Bay team is it was the coaching. I mean, they had the talent, and they had a lot of talent on this team. I mean, look at the talent we had on both sides of the football. Aaron Rodgers was your quarterback. Aaron Jones was your running back. You had a great backup in Jamal Williams. You had Davante Adams. You had Jimmy Graham. You have dynamic tight ends like Mercedes Lewis and Lance Kendricks, who were really good pass blockers. You had David Bakhtiari on the line. Corey Linsley had a really nice season. Randall Cobb was injured, I admit, but you had two really talented rookie receivers, Equanimeous St. Brown and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Jake Kumerow showed some flashes at the end of the season there. I mean, there was no lack of talent on the offensive side, and on the defensive side, there was a pretty decent amount of talent as well. Kenny Clark is a really good player. He's going to go to the Pro Bowl this year. Mike Daniels was a really good player this year, and he has been in the past. Jaire Alexander, Josh Jackson, Bashaud Breeland, Tramon Williams had a nice year. I mean, Blake Martinez is a really nice run stopper. There's certainly no shortage of talent on this Packers football team. The coaching staff just could not get it to mesh this year, and that's really the biggest problem. And also the fact that, like I said, I think the Packers would probably have at least 3 more wins if they had some lucky bounces go their way this year. But That's beside the point. I mean, good teams are able to close football games like that. The Packers obviously were not a good football team this year, so they look to the future now. So what does the future entail? Well, the first order of business on the agenda for this offseason, they got to find a coach. And that's got to be priority number one for them. They have to find a good coach who they believe will be able to carry this football team to profound success in the waning years of Aaron Rodgers' career, which I would presume will be over in 5 years or so when Aaron Rodgers turns 40 and his contract is up. So how do you make the Packers in these next 5 years, how do you turn them from what they are now into a Super Bowl contender? I don't think it's going to take too much, to be honest with you. I think there are some glaring holes on this team for sure. They don't have a great pass rush. Their secondary still needs to grow into itself. Their offense, obviously, they need to figure out how to work it around an Aaron Rodgers that's not the Aaron Rodgers of old. I mean, he's still a great quarterback, and he will still be a great quarterback next year. But they need to be able to figure out how to mesh this all together and make it work with Aaron Rodgers in the state that he is currently in. He's not as durable as he once was. He's older. He's not able to make the kind of plays on the run that he used to be able to make. He's not as accurate. But he's still a good quarterback, and they still need to figure out how to make that work even when he's not at the profound greatness that he was just a few short years ago. And, you know, that's something that it's going to be hard to look back at those years where Aaron Rodgers was at the top of his game from 2011 to 2016, or 2011 to 2014 at least, where the Packers had some really good football teams. They just weren't able to surround Aaron Rodgers with the kind of talent that we needed to get to the next step. And it's going to be hard when Aaron Rodgers' career is over to look back on those years and say, man, Aaron Rodgers played at such a high level in those years, and they consistently could never put enough talent around him to get over the edge. And that's just the unfortunate part of it. And now that Aaron Rodgers is on the decline, now the roles might be flipped. You might have to have the football team lift Aaron Rodgers up sometimes, and that really hasn't happened a lot over the past few years. So they got to find a coach. They have to be able to fill the holes at pass rush, and they have to be able to mesh the offense to work around a declining Aaron Rodgers. So that's pretty much the goal of this offseason. I like the talent that they currently have on the team. I just think it's a matter of finding the right coach and filling the holes that you need to fill in either free agency or the draft. And I would presume that they're going to lean more towards draft this offseason. I don't really think they need to go out and sign a big free agent name. You know, I don't think they need to go out and get Jadeveon Clowney or go get Earl Thomas or anything. I think I like what they have going right now at this point in time with the talent, the young talent on their team. But I mean, it was a disappointing year. You know, they had some talent. It didn't mesh. Mike McCarthy was fired. Now they kind of have a fresh start to try and get back to where they were a few years ago, but with more talent around Aaron Rodgers. And hopefully the Packers are able to bounce back from this year and make it to the playoffs at least next year. I don't know if I expect them to be Super Bowl contenders or not next year. We'll have to see how this offseason plays out. But I think that they definitely, hopefully, need to take some steps in the right direction this offseason. They certainly have the talent necessary to try and build around. They have their core pieces, Davante Adams, Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, Jair Alexander, guys like that, Kenny Clark. Those are the core pieces right now. They have those. Obviously, I don't think the guys like Clay Matthews and Randall Cobb are going to be back next year. Unfortunately, they just weren't that productive this year. Clay Matthews is a shell of his former self, by the way. I mean, he really took a downhill slide this year. But, I mean, you know what? They've still got an opportunity here. They still have 5 years left of Aaron Rodgers. Let's see if they can make it work, but this offseason is going to be the most important of them all because they need to find that head coach that works well with Aaron Rodgers. So, anyways, guys, though, sorry, this kind of turned into more of a discussing the future video than the actual discussing the game. I mean, there wasn't much to discuss in this football game, but, I mean, it was a poor season, but there is optimism for the future. They have a lot of pieces, and they have a lot of optimism to be able to look forward to the future. Hopefully they can get that head coach this offseason. But as for talk videos for my channel, I am going to South Carolina tomorrow, and I'm going to be gone until January 11th. So if the Packers hire a new head coach within that time, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get on top of it for you guys. And I really, really kind of regret that because I know that those big news releases are kind of the big videos that I get, the videos that get the most views on my channel. You know, when Mike McCarthy was fired, I got 1,500 views on the video that I released right after they fired him. So if I have the time, if I have a window of opportunity to get something in, I will. But for the next 11 days, I wouldn't expect much except for maybe a few highlight videos here and there. I'm still going to be working on those highlight videos I promised you guys in the community posts. Aaron Rodgers is going to be going up almost immediately after this video. I'm going to be working on Patrick Mahomes, all how many ever of his touchdown passes he has this year. I have that one almost finished. Just have to add this game. Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, Saquon Barkley are all on the list as well. So stay tuned for that. But until then, guys, thanks for watching. Thank you for joining me so many times in this rather disappointing season for the Green Bay Packers. Hopefully they can build for the future this offseason, and hopefully they can get back to the Packers we remember them to be next season. So anyways, guys, though, until next season, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching these instant reactions. I'll see you guys next time. As always, go Pack Go.